Yo, what is up guys, Henry here and welcome to another video on my channel. Today we've got the first sort of reaction video on the channel. In the past we've only done the United podcast, but today I thought I'd do a different video, change it up a little bit, in reaction to some of the massive news that has sort of occurred in the past 24 hours. Last night Mauricio Pochettino was obviously sacked from Tottenham Hotspur. That's the first bit of news to tackle. Pochettino sacked. Daniel Levy has had enough. He's not hanging around. It's taken the whole of the international break, which is quite interesting. It's been a couple of weeks since Spurs have played, and he's taken that long to make the sacking. I feel like there was a contingency plan already there for José Mourinho to come in. I feel like that lobbying from Daniel Levy had been taking place for a long time before this decision was made. So I don't think it was a sort of knee-jerk decision. I think Levy and the Tottenham board have obviously been planning to sack Pochettino. It was just about planning sort of his severance package, that sort of thing, before he was sacked. So I think that's always been the sort of plan. Whether I think it was the right decision or not, I think it was. It doesn't affect my view on Pochettino as manager. I think he's a very good manager. Obviously last season I did think it just sort of peaked with that Champions League run. I think he sort of achieved all that he possibly could with that Tottenham side, and it's just been downhill from there really this season. Been a massive disappointment for Spurs. And at the end it looked just like he'd lost the players, to be honest. It really is that simple. It's similar to how Mourinho's period at Manchester United ended last year, and also how his sort of period ended at Chelsea. It's no disrespect to Jose or Pochettino as a manager. It's simply the end of an era, and I think a lot of managers do come to that. You know, Ancelotti in the past and managers like that have just come to a time when their time at a club is up. I think that's what it was for Pochettino. So yeah, not too much to say about that. With regards to Pochettino to Manchester United, I obviously still love Pochettino to come to United. It depends. I think it's definitely going to put a bit of pressure on Ollie. As I was watching one of Mark Goldbridge's videos yesterday, and he's completely right. I think his arse will be twitching now. Worried about obviously seeing Spurs making these sort of not rash, but these quite cutthroat decisions. I think that's going to put pressure on United. At least we can hope it will do the same. Obviously, you can never trust Woodward or the Glazers or what kind of decisions they're going to make, but you'd think that Spurs' decision to sack Pochettino would definitely be reflected in perhaps their treatment of Ollie going forward. So yeah, it's all about Pochettino. I think he'll definitely be looking at the Manchester United job should Ole struggle against Sheffield or then Villa, and then I think that Spurs game against Jose Mourinho Spurs is going to be a humongous game for Ole and for United, and also for Jose, of course. It's just going to be a massive game. I don't think the calendar could have put it in any place better on the calendar, to be honest. It's a perfect time for this get that match to take place, and yeah, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting one. So yeah, Pochettino sacked. So I don't know what he's going to do next. If that Manchester United job does come up, I think he'd definitely be interested. I think Woodward's a big fan of Pochettino. I've read a lot about that in the past sort of years, especially when Jose was sacked last year. There was a lot of talk about Poch, and obviously went on that incredible run, and it did put pressure on the board to make the popular decision, which they did in the end by appointing him, infamously too early. But yeah, I think Pochettino will definitely be in Woodward's the back of his head at least. The Bayern job, obviously, another one that I think Poch will definitely be looking at. It's talk of Ten Hag perhaps taking over there, but yeah, we'll have to see. You never know in football. As we saw last night, it all happened so quickly. And then this morning, I think it was around 6:30 or something like that, Jose Mourinho was announced. It was all done in the click of your finger. So Spurs have appointed Jose Mourinho, made him the second highest paid manager in world football, only behind Pep Guardiola, according to reports. I think Mourinho's earning 15 million a year, while Pep's on around 20 million a year. To put that into perspective with the other managers in the league, likes of Jurgen Klopp and Solskjaer, 7.5 million, and then Pellegrini on 7 million, according to the Sun. So it does just show how much Levy wanted Jose Mourinho at Spurs. The sort of the power this man's got to be able to just be paid this much by a club that's usually pretty tight-fisted when it comes to cash. So yeah, it's a massive deal for Spurs to complete with a lot of money. I think it's a fantastic appointment. Obviously I'm going to say that as a massive Mourinho fan myself. I think it's a fantastic appointment at a club where they've been pushing for trophies. There is just that slight mentality tweak that's needed. Pochettino has sort of led them to a certain stage, and I think it's time for Mourinho now to come and deliver that. Poch has obviously matured a lot of these players. Harry Kane, Dele Alli, and the likes have all matured under Poch. I think Mourinho can push them that extra little bit further to really make them a winning side. It's not quite in the Spurs culture. Without trying to be disrespectful, it's not in the Spurs culture. This sort of winning mentality. I think that's something that Jose can bring, and it's something I think he will bring. He's had a year out now, Mourinho. Obviously done a lot of punditry. I have no doubt that he's been talking to a lot of different people in football. You've seen him watching lots of different games at the likes of Lille, which we'll get onto in a minute, because I think it's pretty clear why he was at those games now, which as I say, we'll get onto in a minute. And I think he's had time to rethink. There's a lot of talk of this idea of Mourinho rethinking his philosophy, this idea of adapting to the modern game. Not something I specifically think he needs to do, but I think perhaps he's looking to change himself a bit now. He's obviously seen something in his own management style that he wants to change. He's gone ahead and done that in this year off, or supposedly. We'll find out very, very soon. I can imagine if there's been a clear change to his philosophy. I think he's a very traditional manager in that he won't change away from his sort of core values, but perhaps tweak them to adapt to the modern game. I think that's more where they're going to go with Mourinho. Just a little statistic here. Jose Mourinho's won 10 trophies since Spurs won their last cup back in 2008, which is just unbelievable, really. Absolute madness, which does sort of touch upon the idea of that winning mentality I was just talking about. Tottenham chairman Daniel Levy was blown away by Jose Mourinho after holding talks to the manager. Mourinho claimed he has spent his time away from management developing a new strategy and philosophy. That's from The Independent. Which is what I was just talking about there. Those sort of I think he will just tweak his sort of core values, and it's going to be so interesting to see a manager who's so deeply ingrained in football history and Premier League history to come and take on another new challenge. I think it's inspiring, honestly. Some of the things Mourinho does. He wasn't going to. I had a feeling he was going to sit around and wait for the Real Madrid job, which I wouldn't have been opposed to. I'd think it'd been fantastic to see him anywhere. To be honest, Mourinho, he's going to be entertaining and interesting no matter where he goes. I think the Madrid job would have been a very interesting one, but it's so refreshing again to see a manager at the top like this take on another massive challenge. I think it just shows the desire of this man, this sort of this passion for football and this drive within him. That he's not going to just sit on what he's got. He's going to just keep driving and getting these new sort of challenges and taking them on. A third club in English football for Jose Mourinho. I'm not surprised that he's decided to stay in England in the end. He's spoken very openly about his sort of love for London, and then he loves living in London. So obviously he can continue doing that with the Spurs job, and I don't think it's surprising he stayed here in the end. I think it's a country that it's sort of there's a love-hate relationship between him and the media here. I think we give him the attention he likes. It's not as toxic as the sort of attention over in places like Spain, for example. The media give him attention here, but they sort of love him at the same time. He gives them stuff to write about. So he's got that nice relationship with the media over here that he can continue to work with his time at Tottenham. And it's going to be entertaining just to see some of his press conferences again, honestly. There's not enough exciting managers in football these days. So yeah, it's good to see someone come back who I'm sure will provide some entertainment with his pre- and post-match comments. With regards to his assistants, Rui Faria is obviously still out working in Dubai, I believe. I'm not wrong. It's Dubai or it's Qatar or it's somewhere like that. So obviously he's not coming back. And he did, obviously Mourinho at Manchester United last year didn't have Faria at the beginning of the season. He was working with Michael Carrick and Kieran McKenna, who are really, I think, Manchester United choices as such and not really his personal choices. As I mentioned just a little bit earlier, he's been attending a lot of Lille games. It was unsure. We thought he might have been going to take in the Lille job. It's clear that isn't the case now. He was actually looking for assistant managers. João Sacramento and Nuno Santos, two of the names at Lille, who are going to be leaving to come and work with Jose Mourinho at Tottenham Hotspur. So two new names for Jose's backroom staff. It's also noted that Silvio Lorno The goalkeeping coach who Mourinho usually works with won't be coming with him on this one. So it looks like he really is freshening things up, Mourinho, and it's an exciting time for those who have followed him over his career to see this sort of new era, perhaps, of Mourinho, not sticking with the same backroom staff, which is interesting for someone with such sort of traditional values. It's good to see him branching out, and it's exciting. I think the only thing you can say about this appointment for Spurs is it's exciting for Spurs fans, especially. I think the sort of the mood that Poch had brought in the end was toxic. Honestly, this Spurs situation that we've got right now is so similar to the one at Manchester United last year, but Spurs have dealt with it in a completely different and better way. They didn't make the knee-jerk decision of sacking Poch. They could have done it about a month ago. They could have done it even earlier than that when they were struggling. Levy stuck with him. He made the contingency plan. He's obviously been lobbying Mourinho for a long, long time, planning for him to come in. He sacked Poch, brings Mourinho in within hours of doing so. And I just think that's a fantastic way of dealing with things. I think Levy, who is hated by a lot of Spurs fans, and understandably, a bit of a shrewd negotiator, but I think you've got to give him credit for how he's handled this situation. I think he's done it absolutely fantastically. And just how quick it all happened, I think it's so impressive. Meanwhile, at Manchester United last year, in a similar sort of decision, it was a knee-jerk decision to sack Mourinho. No contingency plan at all. We ended up with Solskjaer obviously taking over as an interim. We were told we'd be waiting until the end of the season no matter what. This is what Woodward promised us. We will not make any knee-jerk decision on who to appoint. Solskjaer goes and wins a few games. We appoint him on the spot to appease fans. And I'm not saying I was against that at the time. I did say I've always wanted Solskjaer to be given the job. I think he deserved to get the job off what he'd done in that period between December and March. What I did say was, let's wait until the end of the season, see how he gets on. We didn't do that, did we? We appointed him off the back of a couple of losses to Wolves and Arsenal. Two completely different approaches, and obviously we've ended up now with Solskjaer. He's been going through a very turbulent stage. Obviously right now it's calmed down a little bit, but I'm sure that the sacking of Poch will put pressure on him once more. So yeah, José Mourinho at Spurs, Mauricio Pochettino, who knows where next, perhaps Manchester United. That's all for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Cheers.